My name is Sebastian Stößer. I'm going to be your MC tonight and guide you through this exciting presentation that we have ready for you. You will get to learn more about individual use cases of how to use and work with Tableau. You'll get additional perspective, learning from some of very experienced Tableau experts out there and how their journey came across. So there's a lot that we have available for you today. And I would like to welcome you with that to our Northern Virginia Tableau user group meeting. If it's the first time for you, this group has been formalized at the beginning of the year. So we're meeting almost every other month. That is kind of the pace that we have been taking so far this year. And regardless of COVID or the current situation in general, it's a great opportunity for us to connect online. And I think one of the greatest advantages is that versus where before we were limited to the physical location, now we're literally open to anyone in the world who would like to join our user group. So this one is the 5th iteration of our user group. If you haven't heard of it, or if you would like to get more content, get in touch, get more interaction with us and the larger community that we're supporting, feel free to join us on LinkedIn. You can find us under Nova Tableau user group. So if you just type that in under the search bar, you should immediately find our user group. And that is our portal that we're leveraging in order to share the latest news, information, job postings, opportunities, everything that you might be interested in. And of course, also for you, a great opportunity to contribute. I'm only part, of course, of a larger team. And as one of the founders, together with Brian, Livermore, Patrick, and Jimmy, we're the 4 guys who have basically started the community, as I mentioned, about a year ago. And our main objective is to really build a community around Tableau that allows to get the maximum benefit and value out of Tableau. There is always something new that you can learn about Tableau, if it's, how to create better dashboards, how to really learn all the tricks behind the functionality of the software as well, what's on the roadmap and what's to come. And sometimes, we have seen very exciting presentations of use cases that I wouldn't have even thought about, is that possible with Tableau? And I was quite amazed. So today is just another iteration of expanding your horizon when it comes to working with Tableau. And over the next hour and a half, we're going to make sure that you are entertained, that you learn something new, and that you really feel engaged. So if there's anything that you have on your mind, any question, feedback, input, comment, feel free to raise your hand and we will then unmute you so that you can actually contribute to the conversation. If you should be a little shy, feel free to just type into chat box and we'll regularly make sure to check the chat box as well so that we can directly follow up with any questions that you may have. All right. So before we get started with the actual presentation, and this is how we're going to go about the next hour and a half, we're going to have 3 speakers in total today. We have some time before and some time after to connect. And before spending too much time here, a quick opportunity for us in terms of announcements. So this is the 5th iteration that we are having this year. We have plans to have one more iteration before we close out the year strongly. So if you have any ideas, if you are curious to basically present your experience with Tableau, please feel free to reach out to myself or any of the leaders that you have seen here previously on the slide so that we can make sure to include you. And it doesn't always require a whole host of year-long of experience. As you know, Tableau is a very fast-paced moving software. There's news, evolving technology basically as we speak. So we do not require you to have a long experience of working with Tableau. We have, as you will learn today, speakers that basically just picked it up and have an incredible learning curve. And of course, that also applies to you. So if you're passionate about what you're doing with Tableau, please reach out to us. We're more than happy to provide you the stage and have you contributing to the community by allowing others to learn from you. Also, what we're normally doing here is in the spirit of a true community, allowing other members to benefit, to voice, and also to understand what's in it for them. So I would like to ask the audience right now if there is any announcement that you would like to make Maybe you're searching for Tableau expert. Maybe you're interested in, having a recommendation for any of those types. So if you are currently in search of a Tableau expert, if you are working for a company that's hiring and you would like to make a quick announcement, please raise your hand. I will unmute you and the stage will be yours for a few seconds. All right, so if I'm reading correctly, I do not see a hand raise right now. In case I miss you, please use the chat function as well. We'll get back to that and make sure that we make your voice heard. All right, so let's dive directly into our presentation then of today. And first, we'll start with Dhruv. A little background to Dhruv, and he, of course, can introduce himself. I just would like to prepare the stage for him, warm it up. He deserves a good stage. He has been, in touch with the community for quite a couple months, and he has a very exciting story to share with us, how he started working with Tableau and gathered more and more experience over time and really learned how Tableau is more than just a software, how it can really benefit him personally to live through his passion, and also, of course, to accelerate his path when it comes to building a career. So that's going to be a very exciting presentation. I'm very happy that we have Dhruv here today. And with that, I'm going to hand over to Dhruv. Let me just pass you the ball in order to make sure that everything from screen sharing to voiceover works here. And Dhruv, I believe with that, the stage should be yours. Let me know if you have received.
Hey Sebastian, I don't see the ball yet, but I could give a brief introduction on myself.
Perfect. Let's do that. Yeah.
Okay, done. Thank you. Hey guys, so today I'm going to be basically speaking on my journey through Tableau and how you can basically try to do the same, try to connect the dots like I did, try to walk you through and navigate the waters of this software. And it is, in all honesty, much more than a software for me. And I'll talk in detail about that. But first, a bit of background about myself. I'm currently a data science intern at Blink 360. They are a Tableau partner company. They're heavily involved with a lot of Tableau user group meetings too. And I'm pursuing my information systems from the University of Marino. I'm doing my master's degree. So I pass out later this year in December. So, okay. This is a brief introduction into what the things that led me to this path, honestly. I actually did my engineering from India in electronics, and that was more than enough to make me realize that that's probably not the path I want to go on. And now I'm really happy with what I'm doing, really happy with what I'm learning. Um, I would say that there are a few things that I still haven't had a very comfortable experience in. And something that I do want to learn in the future is probably big data tools and some data science modeling techniques. Along with that, I believe that Tableau comes much later in the pipeline, especially for business intelligence. What comes ahead is stuff like data prepping or data wrangling, which you can do through SQL and Alteryx. So when you're taking the path to Tableau, I highly suggest that along with Makeover Mondays, you take an active interest in Workout Wednesdays, which are also a weekly event. And I'll talk in detail about Makeover Mondays too, how you can get that visibility basically in the community. Another thing I want to do is surely submit an iron use entry again, like I did this year. It was my first time. And I see that professionals, as years go by, the number of students participating in iron quiz have increased a lot. So basically, I want to make time, even after I start working, to contribute to the community. Some of my hobbies are playing soccer. That's one thing I connect with Sebastian on, and working out, or Actually, something I picked up recently is the trade market. So reading about those techniques and how data is used there. This is basically my journey with Tableau, and I started from the very bottom. I would say from my first Make on Monday in April, and prior to that, I had a very brief experience with Tableau as a reporting software in March for a case competition. So this presentation is basically going to be about my evolution in this software and how finally towards the end of August, even though we were in a pandemic and internships were getting scraped off, I acquired some techniques in the tool, like connected with people through Tableau, and how I got multiple job offers at the end. So to reiterate, this is what I started from. And I don't feel very comfortable sharing this with you, but it's something I have to actually give you an idea of where I started from. It was an icon map I made for a case competition, very simple line chart of sorts. And I just wanted to see the traffic patterns in our campus at UMD. Surprisingly, people really liked it at the case competition, and we were even given the best visualization award. So you can see that this whiz that I posted on LinkedIn had somewhere around 2,000 views, and this presentation is basically going to be about my journey from this to the item this submission that had a little over 25,000 views. So how I developed this side of me and how you can do the same to get that visibility again, to make those connections, expand your professional network, especially if you're passionate about something like database, then you should definitely do this. So I've already talked about this. It was a graduate case competition where I first came across Tableau. And it was a tool that I had underestimated for a long time, but I realized its true power when we actually presented it at the case competition, and I have been in love with it ever since. So it was something like this, and I'm hoping you guys can see the video. Animation had just come out in that Tableau version a few months ago, actually, and I really wanted to try it out. So that was basically it. Just showing the audiences and showing the judges how traffic changes as you go by the 0 hour to the 24th hour, along with a simple trend line. I haven't made any changes to this before showing it to you guys, including how the dashboard is presented. Nothing at all. But I want to show the progress. I got a question. Curious how many hours the item this submission took to build, including the data prep. I'll get to that, but to give you a brief on it, it took me close to 7 days, mostly because data is not easy to get right for a lot of sites, but I'll talk about it. So this is how I started my journey, basically from Makeover Mondays, and to give you guys a step by step of how to get into it. Basically, it's a close contest, and you realize later on that Tableau is a family of geeks, as I like to call it. There are these constant weekly events and weekly contests that I really urge you guys to take an active interest in if you're starting out Tableau, if you want to get that visibility out there. So I started with Makeover Mondays. Personally, you should actually start with Makeover Mondays and then slowly progress to Workout Wednesdays, which is a technical part of Tableau. And I believe that's what's going to get you across the line when you build business dashboards. So for Makeover Monday, the first step is the data comes out on somewhere on Saturday every week, and you should be ready to present or post the submission by Monday. The aim is to give you less time to prepare for it, and it's basically to judge your visualization skills more than anything. The data is actually very clean. in most cases. You don't need to do a lot of data prep unless you're going for some custom charts or custom visuals, like I have in some cases. So it's basically judging how easily you can place visuals and how easily you can communicate the data. Another thing is when you post your final submission, after all that hard work, don't make the rookie mistake I did. I used to post everything on LinkedIn, but what you should do is post it on Twitter along with this hashtag and tag the organizers of this event. The aim is basically by ends week, somewhere around Friday, they come out with their favorites. Basically, it's a bunch of favorites that they shortlist, and that's something that actually gives you that validation after all that hard work. And like I said, I made a rookie mistake. I hadn't posted on Twitter for till at least my seventh or eighth makeover Monday. So that's what I did in April. So this is again one of my first makeover Mondays, by the way. Something that drove me to makeover Monday was this event, this theme itself. I was many months late to the party, if I'm being honest. And I made this submission weeks after it was posted, actually. What I can see from this is I didn't have a very good idea of how to place things. This doesn't even have a title, and like I said, I haven't made any changes to any of my submissions before showing it to you guys. The good thing about this is, though, you can easily see that Messi outperforms Ronaldo in some cases, like assists in the domestic league. And if you had an actual schedule of the games, maybe you could even analyze what teams Messi outperforms Ronaldo against. So what I mean to say is, if you are into soccer, you get this. If it's a team like Atletico Madrid that's at the top of the table, then you want to analyze who plays better between these two. And if it's a bottom tier team, then you want to see who plays better. So along with this, if there's a reference sheet that actually gives you the kind of opponents they faced, that would have been pretty good. But that's again just me consoling myself on the poor design, I think. Moving forward, in the months to come, I basically expanded my network. I kept going at Mako Mondays. I met some really good people through Tableau user group. Two examples are one of them is my current employer, Blink 360, and one is Sebastian, who actually gave me a shout out when I didn't. Now that I think about it, I didn't really deserve that shout out, but that was sort of a turning point for me. I made it a point to make submissions that actually deserve shout outs, I would say. And what you should do is when you actually make a dashboard, you should obviously have a Tableau public profile that you can leverage for job applications or just in general. It's a really good practice to have. Obviously, post it on Twitter with the right hashtags so it reaches maximum audience with proper connections, and it actually has that interaction with audiences. And you should obviously, like I did, post it on LinkedIn because that's where most of the job market is. But one thing I'd like to talk about is how easily you can network on Twitter too. It's not very common for people to do that, but if you're in the field of data visualization, then I think Twitter is the right place to network. I've seen a lot of job openings getting filled out. And I've personally gotten interview offers just from my dashboards on Twitter from other people. And the people rightly say that the heart of Tableau is basically its community. And once you actually start building dashboards and you get that support from the community, you will find out that that is actually true. This is one of my Mako Monday submissions. This was the first time I experimented with a long graph. Again, looking back at it, it looks really shabby to me now. But this was the first time I tried a tendogram or a jitter bar chart. And the only reason I was made aware of these was because I'd seen submissions that had won Whiz of the Day just because of their Make or Mondays. So a lot of times when you participate and you see other participants' visualizations, you have a really good chance to interact with them, learn from them, take inspiration like I did, and also reverse engineer their dashboards. This one doesn't have a lot of functionalities, and actually, now that I think of all these dashboards for Mango Mondays, they do kind of seem to be on the edge of infographics rather than business intelligence dashboards. And although that is fun to do, you can implement these same designs in your business dashboards. You should know the best use case for them. For example, if you see the dentogram here, I could have represented the same thing with a bar chart. The reason it helps is because if you make a nested dentogram, like I did in one of my projects, you can actually analyze the grouping and the classification of different things. So when you get an idea of Maker Monday, make sure that you know the best use case for it, and you can actually implement it in your business dashboards. And you'll see further on that the jitter bar chart is probably one of my favorite designs, and I've used it almost everywhere. This is a very interesting dashboard. It was actually suggested that I make this by Sebastian himself. Again, the data doesn't come easy for these dashboards. It was a very topical dashboard, especially at the time I published it. And the data was tough to get by, but my aim was to keep trying out new dashboards, basically. And you can see here that one thing I've done is kind of change the hint this color represents in the area chart, the negative area chart, actually. So originally, the original picture was actually had full colors, but I turned on the heat on this with some basic photo editing to match the colors of this. And the way I've used colors is to have the darkest one for confidential data and the lightest one for public data. But in all of my dashboards, one thing I try to do is maintain a theme, a 60-30-10 theme. So 60 is my background color, 30 is my accent color, and 30 is the color of my visuals, and 10 is finally my accent color. And that again is a really good practice to have, keeping homogeneous color palettes. And that's something I've learned from Maker Mondays. Coming on to July, I had some really great inspiration and some really good network on LinkedIn. They actually introduced me to Twitter. And what I like about people on Twitter, especially data viz professionals, is no matter who they are, they'll always be down to support you, give you shout outs, or lead you on. And that is why I feel that Twitter probably has that slight edge over LinkedIn when it comes to the field of Tableau. So it's basically a personal choice of how you want to navigate through Tableau. You have the ideal option is obviously to have LinkedIn and Twitter and go through it with it, keep expanding your network. And I'm sure that once you do that, you'll be on the right path, and it's the evolution of your dashboards will automatically come in place. This is the dashboard that I first published on Twitter, and this is basically the reason I got those shout outs. I'll briefly go over the technique used in this. One thing I forgot to mention, and you guys might have seen, is I tend to go for the longer formats in my infographics or visualizations. One reason for that is it fits really well onto your mobile screen. And I believe that that's where a lot of my connections view my content from. This was, again, a personal choice. Once I found my safe space, I stuck to it. So a lot of my Tableau public dashboards have this format. What I did here was basically float a image of, I blew up an image of this map that you see here, and I floated it across the back of the dashboard. So it feels like this is imposed upon the map itself. And it's a very basic technique. I mean, you have seen people change backgrounds in their dashboards. But I really like this because Honestly, I didn't think it would have this effect, but when I finished the final dashboard, it was really good, at least to look at. And the business sense is still debatable in a lot of custom visuals. But like I said, you should always find the best use case for each of them. Another thing is when you're making dark dashboards, one thing I've realized is instead of using stark black, try using probably the third shade of black that Tableau gives you against the second shade of white that Tableau gives you. Because it's really easy on the eyes. It looks really readable. That's just like one tip I can think of. This was a Make or Monday submission again, but this has probably been the highlight of my Make or Monday submissions. Mostly because I've had a lot of professionals ask me how I built it and if there's a way to implement a chart like this in the corporate world, but there's no way, as far as I know. It's not even very readable, but when you look at it from a distance view, just the design of it and the thought process behind it all, I really liked how it came across, basically. So I'll go through the process really quickly. What I've done is, when I saw this topic, basically, I wanted to somehow showcase the congestion of thoughts a victim of mental health might feel. And I feel that this visual, especially the cluttered bar chart or the detailed bar chart, really brings that out because if this one's not interactive, it's a still image. But if you go to my Tableau, if you go to my Tableau public and you click one of these jitters, then you actually see the ripples through the head. Um, and again, that's a very basic technique in Tableau, but the way it can be used is, I mean, it's basically just saying you can tell a story now in thousand different ways. It's the same with Tableau. You can try as many different visuals as you want to tell the same story, which is the whole point of Make or Mondays or these events. So what I've done is I used a still image of two heads facing each other, and I superimposed a jittered bar chart on top of it. So it looks like this, and I have the age groups at the left. So you can see that women in general are more prevalent to face mental health issues. And then I have some factoids at the end. So it's a simple design, but once you have that idea and you just make it, that's probably it. And in hindsight, the noses were the toughest part to recreate, actually. Excuse me. So coming to July, this is when I made my. Actually, this is when Iron Viz was announced. I made my submission in probably the 1st August. But and I didn't spend a lot of time in July making the Iron Viz because I was way too intimidated by what everyone else had done. So the first couple of weeks was just me basically looking at other submissions and thinking how I'll ever manage to make something quite like it. And it's a great competition. If you guys are into Tableau, you know obviously already know about it. But it's a worldwide data visualization competition, and the top 3 get the chance to be featured in Tableau conference, and they compete live. And it was probably one of the best events for me at this year's conference. So this is my Iron Viz submission. This is my Iron Viz submission. I'll let you guys take a minute to look at it. What I wanted to achieve, I don't know if I'm getting the point across, is how your mental health literally reflects your physical health. And to show that reflection, I had this layout where I compare mental health issues and physical health issues side by side, but I use perfect symmetry and the mirror effect to actually show the reflection between the two. Now, I had a question on the time it took for me to build this. The visuals didn't take that long. The time that actually I invested most of my time was basically data prep. because you can't really see it here, but one of the mental health issues was suicide, for example, and one of the physical health issues was obesity. Now, I needed data for suicide and obesity in the same time range, for the same states in the same level of detail, to actually make these two graphs side by side like this. That holds the same for the radial bar chart, the jitter map, or the scatter plot, anything basically. Um, and the fact that I had three different metrics in each of them made it that much tougher for me, actually. And by the end, I had, along with the data scaffolding sheets or resources needed for some of these visuals, I had close to 12 different I had close to 12 different sheets that I had merged, partly on Alteryx and partly on Tableau itself. So I really like the end product though, but it was taking forever to load actually. And my Tableau kept crashing a few times too. So you win some, you lose some. Uh, and again, you can check all of these Tableau dashboards on my public profile. Coming back to the whole journey, finally in August, this Iron Viz entry blew up. Like I said, it had over 25,000 views, and it was also featured in one of the Data Fam Community Jam episodes, where Nathan Adams, I think, talks about the duality of colors, whether it is dark mode, light mode, and business dashboards, or something like I had just done. But I had a revelation, a sort of insight or a happening where I realized that I need to start experimenting with business dashboards or modern layouts, especially, and take what I've learned from Make or Mondays into my business dashboards. So I'm gonna share my screen again, and I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to do a quick run through of one of my business dashboards. And I hope you guys can see it. So this is the business dashboard I made. I've used a dynamic KPI ribbon. I've used a navigation pane, basically. Okay. I was hoping it loads quickly. Something like this that you can pitch across to your team, to your execs, or to your clients. And I made it as interactive as possible. So you can, this data is actually dummy data. So, and I'm a huge fan of the Office. So, and I use parameter swapping to change the sheets. So you can actually, you have the same drop down across all of these to focus on what you want. You can quickly take a screenshot and present it to your team. You can even deep dive into it and analyze it like I have. You can change the filters, for example. You can just focus on one city. Because, so something like that. I didn't have a lot of data to play around with, but this is one thing you can do, especially if you have a lot of data coming in on a regular basis. So it's graphs like these. It's a mixture of everything you can probably take insights from, and you can tell a really good story if you have four dashboards and visuals like this. So I was just comparing the market schemes, for example, on this one, and the increase in orders. So you can see that whenever there's a dip in the schemes running, there's a dip in the orders. And that just helps you tell a good story, basically. I've even customized the tooltips as much as I can, which helps the data look really clean. So that's basically it for the business dashboard. I just have a few announcements to make before I hand the mic over. So I don't think I've missed anything out. So finally, Coming back to where I am right now, I'm interning at Blend 360. Some of the things we do are developing effective dashboards that look modern but are highly functional, and we'll see an example of that. Another cool thing I was involved in recently was visualizing sentiment analysis or sentiments of consumers. And let's check out the Tableau conference dashboard that my team built. This is a GIF of it. So basically, we saw the need. We saw that there isn't a proper structure on the Tableau website to actually search events by speakers. So we made a dashboard completely on Tableau. And it amazes me how much the tool can do every day and how much I still have to learn. So, and I feel that that is a great place to be. And again, I can't take credit for this. My team was heavily involved in it, and this was brought to Genesis by them. We also have a seminar, webinar actually coming up on the November 19th, where the team leaders will talk about working at Blend 360 and how this dashboard was brought to life. And as much as I'm enjoying my time at Blend 360 as a data science intern right now, I'm really excited to see what lies ahead of me. And after graduating in December this year, I'll be actively looking for full-time opportunities too. Now I'll stop sharing my screen and just go through the questions. If there are any we do have time for Q&A, I think. So
Yes, we definitely have a few minutes. If anyone in the audience has a specific question to Dhruv, please feel free to use the chat or the actual raise your hand, and then we give you the mic. And while we're waiting for the first question, I can only reiterate, I'm really amazed, Dhruv, of your journey, of how everything started with the initial curiosity around how can I use this animation function within Tableau to then seeing it as a channel to basically surface your personal passion around soccer, to then finding the way towards things that are speaking towards social and health aspects, the economic empowerment of women, mental health, police brutality, and then really finding a stage that through likes, it's not about the likes, but people clearly see value in the message that you're relaying. So this is truly amazing to me.
Yeah, I feel like Sebastian probably put my journey in better words than I did. So thanks for that. So I have a question here. What platform did you find most helpful? So rather than platform, I think actually LinkedIn did help me. I found a lot of visualizations, but it would all lead to Tableau Public, and you can if you find the right dashboard, I would highly suggest that you reverse engineer whatever you like, and it's a great community too, and it's a great community. It's really supportive. So what you can do is when you find a dashboard that you like or you want to draw inspiration from, there are websites or blog posts by Tableau Zen masters that you could follow. You could learn creative, insightful, custom visuals from there, and you can try to implement the same. Also, reverse engineer the dashboards you like, and keep at it. I mean, the evolution's gonna come sooner or later. Just keep taking stabs at Make or Mondays. Keep interacting with participants. Everyone would be more than happy to help newcomers out like they helped me. And when I look at it from the other side of the table, I'd be more than happy to help anyone out now.
Dhruv, if somebody says, I want to learn from the best, I want to learn from Zen masters, how would I find a Zen master?
So that brings me to another topic. I'm currently also a student at Millennials and Data. So and that's a course taught by Chantilly and Eric. And Chantilly is a Tableau Zen master. So like I said, they would make time for the community. That's what they do, a lot of them, and just interact with them. I've interacted with Zen masters. It's not that tough. They would reply to you sooner or later. And once they do, ask them for inspiration. Go through their blog posts. I know a lot of Zen masters. Mostly all of them have blog posts or their Tableau public profile. Directly just ask them, connect with them on Twitter or LinkedIn, and just ask them have they achieved what they have.
Perfect. Thank you.
Right. I'm gonna. I There are no more questions, so I'm gonna pass the ball to Jeff now, who is actually gonna give us a great recap of the Tableau conference.
So passing the ball between Messi and Ronaldo, somebody who equally as well understands how to leverage the public platforms to make a name out there. I'd like to introduce Jeff as our next candidate. He also leverages Tableau Public. He was recently also found by us as we were just recently searching for candidates, and it definitely has its value to build your brand through the network, build a market value, which goes beyond just the value that you have maybe to the company that you're working at, but also externally so that people recognize you. If you're on a job search, those are all artifacts that can be leveraged and quantified. So happy to hand over to Jeff now for his session and learning more about the exciting things that he's doing and directly diving in with him.
Thank you very much, Sebastian. Thank you, Dhruv. That was awesome. Love that Iron Bit mission. So thanks for joining us, guys. My name is Jeff Hess, and I'm going to be taking you through a recap of this year's Tableau conference. So there was a lot that happened in Tableau conference this year, and maybe it was a bit different than previous years. So the Tableau conference took place earlier this month between October 6th through the 8th. And I really wanted to give you guys just kind of a recap, high-level overview. I'm almost going to split this session into 3 different parts. It's going to be just the basic conference overview, my thoughts on it, what I got out of it. Then we'll take a look at the Tableau roadmap, some of the cool features that were announced this year. And then I will actually get into Tableau Desktop, and probably a majority of my session will just be just tips and tricks that I learned. And that's a lot. So I have a lot to get through in this session. So I'm going to kind of go rapid pace. But let me know if you have any questions. So you can see on my screen here, we have the Tableau conference website, and like I said, it was a bit different this year because it was all virtual. I think we all know the reason why. But not only did they have virtual sessions, but they tried to keep with conferences of past and had virtual brain dates and meetups and virtual Tableau doctor sessions as well. So the way they did it is they had different episodes, and they almost ran it as like a broadcast style. There were 4 different channels going on all day, each with its own session. Those sessions were about 25 minutes long. And then the other time was filled with, kind of commercials, kind of funny ads for Tableau features, members of the community talking about their experiences, and then some musical acts and things like that as well. So I thought it was extremely well done for the kind of limitations that they had. However, for me though, it didn't come without its challenges. I mean, first, I think the big one is not being in person. That was kind of a struggle. I missed out. I've been to one other Tableau conference in the past, and just being in that environment, the collaboration, the overall vibe, is nothing that you can just get at home. Sometimes I find it hard to balance work and conference. A lot of time, conference was, for us on the East Coast, was happening, from noon to 5 on the weekdays. So, sometimes I had Tableau conference on one screen and work on the other screen. And it was a bit challenging at times to definitely stay engaged.
Jeff, just real quick, we're getting some feedback that the voice is breaking a little bit. Is there any chance? I'm not sure setup wise.
Let's see. Can everyone hear me better now, just using my computer mic?
I think it sounds a lot better, to be honest.
Yeah, that's a much better, Jeff. Thank you.
Excellent. Yeah. Thank you for letting me know, guys.
Wow, we're going to HD. Awesome.
Cool. Yeah. So as I was saying, I found it hard to, have the work-life balance, not being there in person and having that, collaboration in that environment. Also, they were pre-recorded sessions and nothing against that, as, that's all you can really do virtually. But, it's just not the same as being there in person. I also had a 1-year-old crawling on my feet most of the time. So, that didn't help, staying engaged as well. And the event would have been in Las Vegas this year, and it is very difficult to recreate that vibe in my basement in Ashburn. So, but overall, it was a great event. I was continually impressed with how Tableau pulled this off, being all virtual, having that kind of broadcast style, that almost like cable TV that you were tuning in to be able to watch. The partner booths where you're able to actually go into a partner booth and live chat with representatives there, just kind of how you would when you're actually at the conference. So I was actually so impressed and amazed at how Tableau was able to pull this off. I will say I'm definitely looking forward to 2021 though, and being there in person. And just a note to put out there, if you missed the conference, you can actually still register on this website. Just Google search Tableau Conference 2020, and you can rewatch all of those sessions. All right, so I wanted to get to kind of part 2 of my presentation here and just go over some of the big, the big announcements, the Tableau features that are coming up in the Tableau roadmap. Most of that I think is going to happen this year. So I'm very excited to just kind of hear more news on these, but these were things that were announced at Tableau conference, either in one of the keynote speeches or there was another session, Devs at Desks, where they just kind of go over some of the development projects that are happening at Tableau right now. So we'll see, just going down the list here, redesign notification center, that's on your Tableau server. I think there's a big push right now in Tableau to bring some more UI into their Tableau server, make it a little bit more user-friendly. So you're seeing that with the redesign notification center. New subscriptions, alerts, shares, comments, things like that. What I'm really excited about that I was celebrating is the Slack integration. So we use Slack on my team. I love the ability to push notifications directly to Slack. So normally you'll get subscriptions and alerts via email on Tableau server. Those same alerts can now go to any Slack channel. And that you can click that notification on Slack. That will take you directly to that dashboard, and you can see whatever the alert is that popped up. So, on the theme as well of trying to increase that UI and user experience within the Tableau server, they announced 2 new things. One is the collections. So you can actually curate your own collection of content on Tableau server and bring it into this collections tab and quickly and easily find it whenever you need. Similarly, if you're a content creator, you can use personal space, and that is actually publishing to Tableau server, seeing what it looks like on Tableau server, how it reacts, what the performance is, but it's a space that only you can see. And that really helps. So, you don't accidentally put it in a project where, there are going to be many eyes on it and people accidentally click on something thinking it's a real production dashboard, and it's really not, it's just kind of a prototype. And then the shared with me as well, and kind of similarly, if you have content shared with you, you can just kind of quickly, easily go to this tab on the left-hand side of Tableau server, and you'll see the shared with me, all the content that has been shared with you. So there have been some increased measures around row-level security. I know that's a really hot topic right now with a lot of organizations. So it's just, I think, beefing up the is member of for row-level security. And this is a big one too, Tableau prep in browser. So I know Alteryx was going down this road as well. I will not get into the debate of Tableau prep versus Alteryx, but I will say I'm very excited for this. And for me, it kind of leads into the possibility of maybe some aspects of Tableau Prep being available for Explorer license, which are all essentially the licenses that are just web-based on Tableau server. So I think that would be really cool if we can get something like that. And then some more Tableau Prep things as well. You get spatial support, and group steps is really cool. I know that's something that Alteryx has been doing for a while, so I love to see some of the Alteryx things that I loved coming into Tableau Prep as well. But I think the big announcement, if you guys have not heard, Salesforce acquired Tableau. It probably happened 2 years ago now. So Salesforce has Einstein Analytics, which is a predictive analytics platform, and they're integrating that very easily into Tableau. So if you see the GIF right here, right in your Tableau dashboard, you can get Einstein Predictive Analytics right there. So I think that's really powerful, and there are very more integrations to come. I think this is only the start, and really what we're seeing is Salesforce buying Tableau and kind of becoming that data powerhouse in the space to really compete with those Googles and those Microsofts of the world. So I do know that you will need both Tableau licenses or purchase Tableau and purchase Salesforce and enable to use some of these. So just keep that in mind. And obviously more to come, around integrations and things like that. Like I said, this is just kind of the start. So those were, very quickly, some of the kind of overarching look at what Tableau conference was this year, and then some of the big features that they came out with. But what I really wanted to do today is actually get into Tableau Desktop. I'll drag this over here and really showcase some of the things I learned. And it was a lot, but that's good. Same thing as what Dhruv said, like being, I've been using Tableau for years now, and I'm still on a point where every conference or even each kind of Twitter post or something like that, I'm learning something new, where Tableau is continuously evolving and the community is continuously putting new content out there that shows us new things and how to do new things, or how to do things differently than how we knew how to do them. So I always think that's very cool, and it's I can never say you know everything about Tableau, because I don't think that's true for anybody out there. So I thought, what better way to culminate like all the data I learned about and really everything I learned about into a session. And I was like, well, let's just build a dashboard. So let's do it. So the dashboard that I'm wanting to build is, we're going to look at 2019 sales, and it'll just be a sales analysis. So one way, we'll start with building some bands, or big ass numbers, or big actual numbers if you want to be a little less crude. But normally how I would do that is I would drag sum of sales onto text and format the text. But a better way to do this that I found out is actually using the title of the worksheet to build your band. And we're going to insert the year that we want, and sales, and then we can bring in sum of sales. Central this. Make this a little bit bigger. And we have our band here. And what we can actually do is just change our mark type to polygon. So reason for this is kind of twofold. One is we get a lot more white space and padding around the worksheet title than we would just doing it in text. It's a lot easier to format. And two, if you notice, if we have text, we still get the hover over the tooltip that tries to pop up. But if we do it in the title, we don't get any kind of hover over, indicates to the user that there's nothing here other than just this big number that they need to see. We're actually going to duplicate this a couple times because I'm going to make a ban for, let's do profit. And we can kind of update this. And update our title. And we're going to do the same thing here for quantity. So we're just dragging and dropping over top of the existing field on our mark shelf. And just doing some light formatting here to make sure everything's consistent. Quantity. Cool. All right, so next we are going to build a bar chart for our dashboard. We're going to do sales by region. Let's go ahead and bring region on the column. Sales, and let's not forget that we are just showing 2019 sales. So for each of our visualizations, we're going to limit it to 2019. So one thing I want to show you, let's say we have a CEO or president that we're building this executive dashboard for, that they want their regions in a particular order. They want it east, south, central, west. Well, we can't do that here. Drag and drop here to make that custom order. So two ways we can quickly do that. One, we can rotate the axis and we can drag our regions that way to get what we need, re-rotate. They stay the same. We have east, south, central, west. Another way we can do that is actually add region as a duplicate field on the columns. And I'm just going to control drag this. And so we get region down here and up here. Same thing, we can drag here and just take that extra region off. We don't need it. There we go. Now we have our east, south, central, west, just like how we need it to for our end user. All right. One thing I also want to show you is how to quickly add color. So instead of trying to find your sales or trying to find your region in your dimensions or measures pane, hover over the axis and you see this little blue triangle. Just click that and drag that over to the viz. And there's our sum of sales color. Similarly works, if we do that in the x-axis here for region. And you can also do that by dragging your pill from the row shelf and dragging your pill from the column shelf. One more thing I wanted to show you is if you wanted to move your x-axis labels up to the top of your chart instead of the bottom. You can quickly do that by going to Analysis, Table Layout, Advanced, and there's this little checkbox here that says Show Innermost Level at Bottom. We're going to click that, and there we go. Now our x-axis is up to the top. We're actually going to take it back. I prefer mine to be at the bottom. Some ways, though, if you're formatting and you need it specifically, there are some use cases where you can put your x-axis labels at the top of your chart. So let's go ahead and give this a name, sales by region. Okay. Next, I want to do a sales trend. So we are going to drag our order date out here onto columns and sales onto rows. And I wanted to showcase two things with you before we continue on with building our dashboard. And that is how to give yourself more room for labels. So let's say, for this situation, we have our label at the end of our line. And we have not a lot of real estate on our dashboard to put this out there. And so we want to give it just a little bit more space. So it's more to the right of the line and less up top. We can actually do that by bringing in a forecast. So we're going to bring in our forecast. We are going to right click on the forecast and go to forecast options. And we're going to take out this prediction interval and we can set the forecast for however far out we want it to go. Let's just go 1 quarter, just give it a little bit more space. Okay, so we have this dot out here. We're actually, all we need to do is, this forecast is just a color, a marked card. We can just change this estimate to white or whatever background your viz is, and actually right click on the mark and mark label and never show. And now we have more space on the right hand side to bring in our labels. So another way you can give more room to labels is actually give yourself more room up top here. And how we're going to do that is we're going to right click on sales, add a reference line. We're actually going to add a distribution. And under our value for computation, we're actually going to go 110% of our maximum sum of sales. And what that's going to do is give us an extra 10% of space from our maximum value up at the top here. And that gives us more room to show this value if we want to make this number larger, or if we don't have a lot of real estate on the dashboard, like I said before. This just gives you a little bit of padding to give you a little extra space with that label. So we can go, the label for the distribution is none, no tooltips, so we don't get that hover, no fill, and okay. And now we have extra space up here at the top of our dashboard, or at the top of our visualization. All right, so continuing on with building our 2019 sales dashboard, we want to just show sales by quarter. We're going to drag order date up here and sales. Actually, all right, so we have quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4. And you see how we can, Tableau lets us break this down to month and by day. But for me, I don't want my users to be able to go down by day. I want to actually control how far they can actually drill down into this. Let's just say your day data is incomplete, or might just not be there. So I'm going to actually control the user to only go down by quarter and month. How I'm going to do that is that I'm actually going to create a custom date hierarchy. So we can right click on order date and create and custom date. And we're going to call this order date quarter and pick quarter. And we're going to do the same thing, order date create, custom date, order date month. As I said, I only want them to be able to select quarter and month. Great, so now those are created. I can control click to highlight both of them. And I'm going to convert both of them to discrete values. Then I can drag my month onto my quarter to create a hierarchy. And let's go date, hierarchy. Great, and then I'm just going to drag quarter up here. And now it's using my custom date hierarchy to where we have the quarter and the month, and we can't drill down any further than that. That's exactly the way we want it to be. I'm going to call this, let's go sales trend. Cool. So let's go ahead and build a Gantt chart now. And so for anyone who is trying to follow along using Superstore data, I did pre-make some calculations just for the sake of time. And those are to get the current year sales and the prior year sales. And all I really did is I created this calculation for the latest date, which is essentially taking the year of the maximum order date in our data set. I'm getting the prior year from that by doing a date add function and subtracting a year from that latest date that I just derived. And then getting current year sales by saying if the year of my order date is equal to the latest date, then sales. And doing the same for prior year, essentially saying if the year of the order date is equal to the prior year calculation that I created, then sales. And we're going to do this by categories. We'll drag our category under rows here. We're going to go current year sales and prior year sales. And we're going to make this a dual axis chart. We can just right click on our prior year sales, dual axis. We'll right click on the axis to make sure we synchronize the axis. And we're going to make current year sales a bar chart. So I'm going to click on this, and you're going to see that Tableau automatically switches this over to the prior year pill to edit that. But I'm not done editing my current year sales. So it's kind of annoying that Tableau just automatically switches things without kind of letting you know. One thing you can do to combat this is actually if you just click on the pill up here for current year, it locks this editing on the marks card. So you can do whatever edits you want, and it's never going to change until you click out of it. All right, so we have current year, and we're actually going to go prior year as a Gantt line. And this is essentially saying how our current year sales matched our prior year sales. But those Gantt lines are kind of small. We want to make those a little larger. So if I increase the size, you see it only increases how tall the Gantt line is. It doesn't really increase how wide it is. So what we can do here is actually do an ad hoc calculation. We're going to go average, and you can just play around with the numbers here, whatever makes sense for your data set. So for this one, I think average 2000 worked best for me. So if we just go average 2000, and we're actually going to drag this up to size, we can see that our Gantt lines get wider as well as thicker now, or as well as taller now. Much easier to see. All right, so let's call this sales performance analysis, Y over Y. Give it a nice descriptive title. And let's go ahead and move on. And so we're actually going to create a calendar in Tableau. And it's actually really easy to do. So this is just going to be a calendar of the prior month of our data and an individual month. So we're going to go month, year onto filters and go for the prior month in our data, which is December 2019. All right, so we're going to right click and drag order date onto rows, and we're going to select week of order date. And similarly, we're going to right click, drag order date onto our columns and select weekday of order date. So now we see Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Another step is to drag order date. We're going to right click, drag that onto text and hit day. So now we have the days of our month and looking kind of like a calendar already. We're going to go entire view. And we're going to drag our sales up to color, change our mark type to square. And there we go. We have a calendar. We can actually even control click and drag sales onto label. So we can see our daily sales for the month of December as a calendar view. All right, so let's go ahead and build a table. Everyone's favorite thing in Tableau. So did you know that you can actually, so we're going to drag customer name out onto our row shelf, and did you know you can actually split values right here in the table by just right clicking anywhere in the table and hitting split. And that gives that's splitting our first name and last name. And we have that split up here. But we can go one step further and actually, if you go / like you would, like you're commenting in a calculated field, go first name. It changes the title of that field to first name. Similarly, we'll do the same for the last name. And now we have the fields first name and last name that we just created kind of ad hoc at the table. And if we control click both of these and actually drag these back to dimension, these become fields that we can use at any other part of our workbook. For me, I think I'm just going to use regular custom name for this. And we'll also bring out product name, category, subcategory. All right, so we have our dimensions here. And if that's the only way you want your table to be, that's great. And then you just still have these pesky ABC values that no one really likes and no one really knows how to get rid of them. So there are a couple ways we can do that. One is to change our mark type to polygon. That at least gets rid of the ABC and the ability to hover over them. Another way we can do that is do an ad hoc calculation and actually do 2 quotation marks. And I'm doing these ad hoc calculations by just double clicking this blank space in my marks card. And it gives you the option to, do any kind of calculation or field or whatever you need to do in Tableau. So I'm actually going to drag this to label, and that gets rid of the ABCs. Unfortunately, we do still have the hover over, which might be something you want, but you don't want to show those, that ABC text on the far right side of your table. Another way, a quick and easy way, if you don't want to do the ad hoc calculation, change your opacity to 0%. That gets rid of the color for that text, and you still have your hover over option here for your tooltip. One other way you can do it is actually, we're going to control click drag subcategory. We're essentially duplicating the field onto text. And we get subcategory and then we get subcategory on text. Or we can right click subcategory up here on rows and click show header. And that way the end of our table is still the dimension that we need based on our original table design. Notice we lost the label of the column here. So we can actually go up here to column in quotation marks by double clicking on the column shelf by creating the ad hoc calculation. And we're just going to go subcategory and quotation. And now we have that as a label again, and we can just right click here and go hide label. I'm just going to back out a little bit and get to where we were before, because I think the biggest thing I learned is actually the cheat code for this. If you didn't know, you can control the size of your cell by just doing control arrow. So I'm going to hold down control and hit my right arrow 3 times. And it's going to make my cell wider. I'm actually going to grab the edge of this and make it as small as I can. And then I'm going to control left arrow 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that ABC column is completely gone. So a quick, almost video game cheat code in order to get rid of that column. I am going to bring things back a little bit because I do want these. I do want to add some measures as well. So normally if you want to add measure names and measure values to get some of your measures up onto your table, you would put measure names here and measure values on text. And you get every single one of your measures. And if you have 50 measures in your data source, it's kind of annoying to have to pull the ones down, what you don't want, what you want. So I'm going to show you a quick way to actually add that measure names and measure values to your table. So we want sales. We can drag sales out here. And I know I want profit as well. So I'm going to profit on top of sales. And it automatically converts it to measure values and measure names up here and separates these two. And then I'm going to go ahead and add quantity. And I'll just reorder these. And let's go quantity, sales, profit. I think that makes sense. Two quick notes. You can also do a quick scroll on tables. If you right click the scroll bar, you can actually scroll all the way to the bottom super quickly, all the way back to the top super quickly. Or if you want to scroll to a specific point in the table, you can hit scroll here and it scrolls to that point. One last thing I want to show you. Let's say you have your tables all situated the way you want to go, and you don't want your users to be able to sort on anything. You can turn off these sort controls by going to Worksheet tab up here and unclick Show Sort Controls. And then when you do that, you can publish this dashboard, and your users will not have the ability to sort this table if you want to keep it in this format. I want to do that. Okay. And let's just go customer detail. Okay, so let's go ahead and build our dashboard now. We're going to bring a horizontal container in here for our bands, and we're going to drag sales, profit, and quantity. Let's actually go our sales performance analysis down here, along with our sales by region, and then our sales trend can be in the middle here. We're going to change our bands. Instead of standard, we're going to go entire view. And we can make these a little smaller and just kind of do some quick formatting here, dragging your tiles around to make sure everything kind of looks good. And I actually prefer to drag a text box up here for my title instead of clicking dashboard title down here. I just think it gives you a little bit more flexibility. So let's go ahead and give this a title. We can click OK and bring that up here a little bit. All right, so I have the makings of a pretty good dashboard based on a lot of stuff that we had talked about, a lot of stuff that we built. All right, so one thing I want to show you on the dashboard, and I'll be really quick, I know I'm kind of running out of time here, is our measure name. So we're actually going to make this a show hide container. I don't want to see these legends all the time. I want the user to be able to select if they want to see these or not. So I'm actually going to hold Shift and select this container and drag it. And what that does is holding Shift changes things from a tiled to floating. Next thing I'm going to do is edit that container by clicking this caret or right-clicking on it, and we are going to add Show Hide button. And that gives us this little button right here. We can double-click to edit it. And what this does is essentially, it's almost like a pop-up window where you can click on the button, and we're actually going to make it a text. So when our filter legend is shown, we want the option for the user to hide it. And this just saves a lot of real estate on your dashboards. And also, if you have maybe need to export this to PDF or PowerPoint for a meeting or something like that, and you don't want the filters in the way, you just want to show the visualizations, this is a quick way to just kind of hide those filters, hide those legends, hide whatever you need to, and just kind of export those visualizations. So again, when the item is shown, which means our filters are shown here, this container is shown, we want to be able to hide them. So actually hide legends. And we'll give it a border and some gray background, just kind of make it look more buttony, I guess. So you'll see we can also click on here. So when the item is hidden, we want to be able to tell the user to show the legends. Same thing, we'll give it a border and a background. Okay, so when we drag this out and put it to our top corner, we have the option to hide legends. If we alt-click, that disappears, and now we don't see it anymore, and have the option to show it again. And we can actually give a background on this container so it pops out a little bit easier, so that it's known when you can see it and when you can't. All right, another use case I wanted to show with the show hide containers is showing interactivity in your charts. So for example, we are going to bring out a container and make sure it's a floating container. That's the only way you can use these show hide buttons. So we're going to click on this again and add a show hide button and edit this. And we are going to make it an image button. And I actually have an image of just this little click icon. I went to flaticon.com. There are many free icon sites you can use where you can create your own. So I have this, and I'm going to do the same thing for when the item is hidden compared to when the item is shown. And all we really want here is the tooltip, because essentially what we're going to show to the user is they can hover over this little icon and they can see a little bit more context or some instruction on how to use the chart that's on the dashboard. So this is going to be for our sales trend. Remember, we did our own custom date hierarchy for this. So we are going to show, what are we going to put? Hover over date axis and click plus sign to expand date range. And we'll actually copy and paste that and have this same text for item shown and item hidden. So we can see here's our little click icon. And when we hover over that, it gives the user instruction on how to use this chart. That's great, but we also have this container, this floating container out here that we don't really need. So we're going to go out to layout, and we're actually just going to hide it right in the corner. And we're going to put it on position X1, Y1, and you can already see it's going up in the corner. And we're going to make it a height and a width of 1. And you can see it's up in the top hand corner, super small. No one's ever going to know it's there. All we really want is this button. We can put it right over here by sales trend, and that gives our user, attracts our user to click on that or hover over that, and then they see the tooltip and the text here that they can hover over this date range and select the plus button to expand our chart. So we're going to create another dashboard real quick, and we are going to come back in here. We're going to go a navigation button. And I just quickly wanted to show you this, that you can actually use any kind of text in Tableau. So any Unicode text. So next dash, I know I'm running out of time. So I actually can come over to this altcode site, and let's say I just want to grab a picture of an arrow here. I can actually grab this, it's going to copy it, and I can paste this right into anywhere I want in Tableau. So I have a little arrow here. Okay, and then I have next dash with a little arrow. And that'll navigate me over to this dashboard where I will have the calendar I created. And then one last step for you, I can go back to my calendar. And I'm going to do a viz in tooltip, so take out all of my text in my tooltip, insert sheet, and do my customer detail. And you can actually make the viz in tooltips larger than the default by just adjusting this max width and max height. So I'm going to go 900 by 900. Okay. I'm going to go back to my dashboard here. And what that does is for each day of sales, not only do I get the aggregated amount of the sales, but I can actually hover over it and get the customer, the product, the quantity, and the sales and the profit daily each day in December. So that is it for me, guys. I wanted to drag this down here. Thank you for bearing with me. I know we're right at time. I tried to just run through it as quick as I could. There was a lot of content there. But I wanted to give a big thank you to Lorna, Jeffrey, Samantha, Shay, and at all. These are mainly the people from their sessions at Tableau Conference 2020, where I got all of this information.
All right. I mean, this presentation was stacked with tips and tricks, Jeff. I didn't know, you had so many in your pocket. Definitely exciting, and you can definitely tell that Jeff is an experienced, seasoned expert when it comes to using Tableau and applying the knowledge. Do we have any questions for Jeff specifically? Please feel free, raise your hand, use the chat box. All right, in case you should have any questions after the meeting, and this is also important going forward, while Ashai is preparing his question, I'm quickly sharing with you in the chat the LinkedIn group. So if you have an interest in following us, getting the information when we host our next meeting, please follow that group. And then Ashai, I think, was that the start of a question, something about the last dashboard, or just a statement that it fascinated you so much? Okay, we see a couple points coming through here. So yes, we'll definitely share the recording here. We'll post it on LinkedIn. Make sure that everybody who attended today will have access to the recording so that you can go back and forth, slow down the sessions, and that you would like to revisit. Yeah, so unfortunately, we don't know exactly which calendar part of that section, was too fast, but the beauty of technology, once the recordings are released, you should be able to directly go to that part again and, revisit the section where Jeff was specifically explaining that.
Yeah, and feel free to reach out to me as well. I'm on Twitter at Jeff Hess Data, and then you can. I'm also LinkedIn. You can find me out there in the internet. So please reach out if you have any questions, and I'll be more than happy to help you out.
I was also going to say they can reach out to all of us through the LinkedIn site. So if you guys have any questions, find us on the LinkedIn information. I believe Sebastian shared that earlier. And we can get those questions over to Jeff and to Dhruv earlier, presented earlier. So great job, guys.
Thank you to all the presenters. Yeah, great and amazing work. If any of what you've seen today here in the audience has stirred your inspiration and creativity, please feel free to reach out to us. We're more than happy to put you into one of our next sessions, give you the stage. And as I mentioned, we're planning to have the next and last one for this year in December. So Brian, myself, and the team will make sure that you're being informed when that session will take place so that we're ready to get back together and have another very informative and creative session together. All right, so unless there's any other questions, this shall be it for today. And again,